Shy girl donated blood to a stranger, unaware he is a millionaire CEO. Before we dive in, drop a comment below. Where in the world are you watching from? Hit the subscribe button and turn on notification for more emotional videos like this. Anna's studio apartment told the story of a life built on scraps. The couch came from a yard sale 3 summers ago. The kitchen table wobbled on uneven legs. Every dish in her cabinet was mismatched, collected from thrift stores and clearance bins. She had learned to make a home from things other people threw away. Her morning routine never changed. Coffee made from the cheapest grounds. Toast with margarine, never butter. Every dollar counted toward her dream of nursing school. The online program cost $3,000, money that felt like a mountain when you earned minimum wage cleaning hospital floors. The foster care system had moved Anna between 7 different homes before she turned 18. Each placement brought new rules, new faces, new disappointments. She learned to pack light and expect nothing. Some families were kind but temporary. Others were neither. By the time she aged out of the system, Anna had built walls so high that even she couldn't see over them. At the hospital, she moved through her shifts like a shadow. Other employees walked past her without acknowledgement. Doctors and nurses rushed by, focused on their important work. Anna emptied their trash, cleaned their break rooms, and restocked their supplies. She was furniture that happened to move. Her supervisor barely spoke to her during monthly reviews. "Keep doing what you're doing," he would say, barely looking up from his paperwork. Anna wondered if he even remembered her name. She had been working there for 2 years, and most people still treated her like she was invisible. The loneliness cut deeper than the poverty. Anna ate lunch alone in the supply closet, listening to audiobooks about anatomy and patient care. She studied medical terminology during her breaks, preparing for a future that sometimes felt impossible to reach. The nursing program would change everything. It would give her purpose, respect, a chance to matter. But the dream remained distant. After rent, utilities, and food, Anna could only save $50 each month. At that rate, it would take 5 more years to afford tuition. 5 more years of emptying bedpans and mopping floors while watching nurses care for patients she longed to help. Her fear of connection ran deeper than shyness. Every person who had ever mattered to Anna had left. Parents, foster families, the one friend she had made in high school who moved away after graduation. Getting close to people meant getting hurt. Staying invisible meant staying safe. As Anna walked past the blood donation center that evening, she saw the desperate faces of the medical staff inside. The red warning sign seemed to pulse with urgency. Something stirred in her chest, a feeling she had almost forgotten. The feeling of being needed. Anna's hand trembled as she reached for the donation center door. The glass felt cold against her palm. She could turn around right now. Walk back to her cleaning cart. Return to her invisible world where nobody expected anything from her. But the chaos inside pulled her forward. Phones rang without pause. Nurses rushed between stations with clipboards and worried expressions. A doctor stood near the emergency phone, his voice sharp with urgency as he spoke to someone about critical blood levels. The air buzzed with tension that made Anna's chest tight. She approached the front desk on unsteady legs. The receptionist looked up with tired eyes, her hair escaping from a messy ponytail. Dark circles showed the strain of too many emergency calls and not enough donors. "I'd like to donate blood," Anna whispered. The woman's entire face changed. Relief flooded her features like sunrise after a long night. She grabbed Anna's arm gently, as if afraid she might disappear. "Typo negative?" she asked, hope filling her voice. Anna nodded. Within minutes, she found herself in a donation chair. The nurse who prepared her needle moved with practiced speed, but her hand shook slightly. This wasn't routine. This was desperation disguised as procedure. "There's a patient upstairs," the nurse explained while checking Anna's blood pressure. "Critical condition. Your donation could save his life." Anna felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Purpose. The needle pinch meant nothing compared to the warmth spreading through her chest. For once, her presence mattered. Her blood would flow into someone who needed it. She would make a difference. The donation bag filled slowly, dark red liquid representing hope for someone fighting for their life. Anna watched the process with quiet amazement. This simple act connected her to a stranger in the most basic way possible. Life-giving life. Other staff members stopped by to thank her. Their gratitude felt foreign but wonderful. Anna had grown used to being overlooked, ignored, forgotten. Now people remembered her name. They smiled when they saw her. She was no longer invisible. The nurse removed the needle with gentle care. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea how important this is." Anna left the donation center with a band-aid on her arm and pride in her heart. She returned to her cleaning duties, but something had changed. She had saved a life tonight. The thought carried her through emptying trash cans and mopping floors. Little did she know, her blood was flowing into veins that controlled billions. Vincent Rothschild had built an empire from steel and silicon, but his body lay broken on white hospital sheets. Machines beeped around him, tracking a heartbeat that had nearly stopped an hour earlier. The man who commanded boardrooms across 3 continents couldn't command his own blood to stay inside his veins. His penthouse apartment sat empty 30 floors above the city. No family waited by the phone. No wife paced the halls with worry. Vincent had money, power, and influence, but the ICU felt as lonely as a tomb. Success had cost him everything that mattered, though he had never realized the price until now. The accident had been stupid. Reckless. Racing through rain-slicked streets to reach another meaningless meeting, another deal that would add zeros to accounts already overflowing. His Maserati had spun like a toy, metal crumpling around him as physics reminded him that wealth couldn't bend the laws of nature. Patricia Summers sat in the uncomfortable chair beside his bed. She had been his assistant for 8 years, the closest thing to family he had left. Her graying hair was pulled back in a style that had stayed the same since the day they met. She was the only person who remembered his birthday, who knew he preferred coffee black, who had seen him cry the day his father died. She held his hand now, her fingers wrapped around his cold ones. The doctors had explained the situation in terms Patricia understood but wished she didn't. Massive blood loss. Organ failure. Critical need for transfusion. Time running out. Someone's donating now, a nurse had whispered an hour ago. Type O negative. It's exactly what he needs. Patricia had closed her eyes and whispered a prayer to a God she hadn't spoken to since childhood. Please let this work. Please don't take him yet. Not like this. The transfusion began as Anna's blood traveled through tubes into Vincent's failing body. Fresh life flowed into dying veins. His color improved. His breathing steadied. The machines that had screamed warnings began to quiet. Vincent's eyes opened 3 hours later. Confused. Disoriented. But alive. What happened? He whispered, his voice barely audible. Patricia squeezed his hand. Someone saved you, she said, tears flowing down her cheeks. A stranger gave blood to keep you alive. Vincent stared at the ceiling, processing information his foggy mind could barely hold. Someone he had never met had given part of themselves to save him. In his world of contracts and conditions, someone had offered pure generosity with no strings attached. Who? He asked. Patricia shook her head. They wouldn't say. Just a hospital employee who donated and left. Vincent's obsession began in that moment. Someone had saved his life, and he didn't even know their name. The night shift continued as if nothing had changed. Anna pushed her cleaning cart down the same hallways, emptied the same trash bins, wiped down the same surfaces. Her arm still ached where the needle had been, but the small pain felt like a badge of honor. She had done something important tonight, even if nobody would remember it tomorrow. 3 floors above, Vincent's recovery began with her blood flowing through his system. Every heartbeat carried her gift deeper into his body. Her cells worked to repair the damage his reckless driving had caused. The irony was perfect. A woman who owned almost nothing was literally rebuilding a man who owned almost everything. Anna finished cleaning the emergency wing and moved toward the ICU. She had no idea that her blood was sustaining life just beyond those locked doors. She mopped the floors where doctors rushed to save Vincent's life, unaware that she had already provided the key to his survival. The band-aid on her arm caught on her uniform sleeve. She adjusted it carefully, protecting the small wound that had saved a stranger. Tomorrow, the mark would fade. The memory of feeling needed would last longer, but even that would eventually dim. Anna expected nothing more from life than these brief moments of purpose. Vincent woke periodically through the night, his mind clearer each time. The blood loss had nearly killed him, but someone's donation had pulled him back from the edge. He stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them to stay awake, thinking about the person who had given part of themselves to save him. A hospital employee, Patricia had said. Someone who worked in this building. Someone who passed these same halls where he now lay recovering. The thought consumed him more than pain medication could dull. He asked every nurse who entered his room. Do you know who donated blood tonight? They all gave the same answer. Privacy rules prevented them from sharing details. The donor had asked for no recognition and deserved their anonymity. But Vincent's curiosity grew stronger with each passing hour. In his business world, every favor came with a price. Every kindness hid an agenda. Yet someone had given their blood and walked away asking for nothing. The concept fascinated him more than any merger or acquisition ever had. Anna completed her shift as dawn approached. She hung up her uniform and walked to the bus stop, tired but satisfied. Her small act of kindness had rippled through the hospital in ways she couldn't imagine. Somewhere in the building she had just left, a millionaire was planning to find her. The connection between them pulsed with every heartbeat, unseen but unbreakable. Before we continue, drop a like if you're hooked. Now, back to the mystery. Vincent discharged himself against medical advice 3 days later. The hospital bed felt like a prison when answers waited somewhere in the building below. He hired Mark Dalo, the best private investigator money could buy, within hours of returning home. The report arrived by courier the next evening. Anna Michael, night shift custodian. Age 24. Foster care background. No living relatives. Current address, a studio apartment in the cheapest part of town. Monthly income barely covered rent and basic needs. Saving money for nursing school at $50 per month. Vincent read the file 3 times. The woman who had saved his life was struggling to survive. While he owned mansions he rarely visited, she lived in a space smaller than his walk-in closet. While he spent thousands on meals he barely tasted, she counted pennies at the grocery store. The shame hit him like a physical blow. He began visiting the hospital under false pretenses. Checking on recovery progress, he told Patricia. Meeting with board members about charitable donations, he claimed. Really, he was hunting for glimpses of the woman whose blood still flowed in his veins. Anna worked the late shift, arriving when most people were heading home. Vincent positioned himself in the coffee shop across from the employee entrance, watching through tinted windows. She walked with her head down, invisible to the world rushing past her. Her uniform was always spotless despite being clearly old. Her shoes were worn but polished. He followed her movements through the hospital corridors, staying far enough back to avoid detection. Anna moved through her work with quiet efficiency. She restocked supply closets that nurses had emptied. She cleaned break rooms that doctors had abandoned in messy haste. She adjusted patient room temperatures without being asked. But it was her small acts of kindness that broke Vincent's heart. He watched her help a confused elderly man find his wife's room. She spent 15 minutes walking with him, speaking softly, holding his arm when he stumbled. No supervisor saw this. No one would praise her for the extra time. She simply cared. Another night, Vincent saw her stay late to comfort a crying child whose mother was in surgery. Anna sat beside the boy in the waiting room, reading him stories from a worn book she kept in her locker. Her shift had ended an hour earlier, but she remained until the child's grandmother arrived. These moments of pure compassion happened every night. Anna gave freely of herself to strangers who would never know her name. She had so little, yet she shared what she could with anyone who needed it. Vincent owned everything money could buy, but he had never given a gift that mattered. His charity donations were tax write-offs. His business deals enriched only himself. This woman, who cleaned up after him and his kind, was more generous than he had ever been. He vowed to repay her, but how? Vincent spent sleepless nights crafting the perfect plan. Direct charity would wound Anna's pride. She would refuse money from a stranger, no matter how desperately she needed it. The gift had to appear earned, deserved, natural. He contacted the dean of Metropolitan Community College's nursing program. A donation of $50,000 established the Metropolitan Healthcare Heroes scholarships within a week. The criteria seemed random but were carefully designed for hospital employees pursuing nursing education, preference given to those demonstrating exceptional dedication to patient care. Anna fit every requirement perfectly. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in March. Anna stared at the envelope with her name typed in formal letters. Official mail usually meant bills or bad news. She opened it with trembling fingers, preparing for another setback. Congratulations! You have been selected to receive the Metropolitan Healthcare Heroes Scholarship. The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. Full tuition coverage. Books and supplies included. Monthly stipend for living expenses during the program. Everything she had dreamed of for 6 long years, handed to her in a single paragraph. Anna read the letter 17 times before believing it was real. Someone had noticed her work. Someone thought she deserved this chance. The selection committee had reviewed her application, an application she had never submitted. The scholarship coordinator explained everything when Anna called with shaking hands. A hospital supervisor had nominated her based on her outstanding service and dedication. The anonymous donor specifically wanted to help employees who showed exceptional care for patients and colleagues. Anna's mind raced through possibilities. Which supervisor even knew her name? Who had seen her work closely enough to write a recommendation? The mystery felt less important than the miracle. Her life was changing overnight. Vincent watched her reaction from across the hospital cafeteria where she had opened the letter during her break. Joy transformed her face in ways he had never seen. The shy, invisible woman lit up like a sunrise. She wiped tears from her cheeks with the back of her hand, clutching the letter like a precious treasure. But the scholarship was only the beginning. Vincent's lawyers worked quietly to eliminate Anna's debts. Student loans from her failed attempt at college 5 years earlier, paid in full. Medical bills from an emergency room visit last winter, settled anonymously. Outstanding balance on her apartment's damage deposit, cleared by a mysterious benefactor. Anna discovered each gift gradually. Bills she had struggled to pay for months suddenly showed zero balances. Collection calls stopped. For the first time in her adult life, Anna breathed without the weight of financial worry crushing her chest. The nursing program began in September. Anna threw herself into her studies with fierce determination. Anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, subjects that had once seemed impossible now felt like coming home. She belonged in healthcare. She had always known it. 3 months into the program, Anna was studying in the hospital library when a familiar figure approached her table. She had seen him before, a tall man in expensive suits who occasionally visited the hospital. He had kind eyes and nervous hands. "Anna Michael?" he asked softly. She looked up from her textbook, confused. "My name is Vincent Rothschild," he said, his voice barely steady. "6 months ago, you saved my life with your blood donation. I think it's time you knew." Anna's hands shook as Vincent's words sank in. The man standing before her was the stranger whose life her blood had saved. All the mysterious gifts, the scholarship, the paid bills, everything made sense now. She had given without knowing, and he had returned that gift 100-fold. 2 years later, Anna walked through the same hospital halls where she had once pushed a cleaning cart. Now she wore scrubs with her name embroidered on the pocket, Anna Michael, RN. Her stethoscope hung around her neck like a badge of honor. The invisible woman had become essential. Patients smiled when she entered their rooms. Families thanked her for her gentle care. Doctors sought her opinions during rounds. Anna had found her place in the world, and it fit perfectly. The shy girl who had donated blood to save a stranger had become the nurse she was always meant to be. Vincent's life changed just as dramatically. The man who had once measured success in dollars now measured it in lives touched. The scholarship program expanded to help dozens of healthcare workers pursue their dreams. Anonymous donations funded medical equipment for hospitals serving the poor. His wealth finally had purpose beyond accumulation. He and Anna became unlikely friends, bonded by blood and kindness. She helped him understand what true generosity looked like. He helped her see that accepting help didn't diminish her strength. Together, they proved that the most powerful connections often begin with the smallest acts. The blood bank at Metropolitan General never faced another critical shortage. Vincent's donations ensured steady supplies, and Anna's story inspired countless employees to become regular donors. Her single act of kindness created ripples that spread far beyond one man's life. Anna kept the original scholarship letter framed on her desk. It reminded her that dreams could come true in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes the universe conspired to reward those who gave without expecting anything in return. Vincent kept Anna's donor card in his wallet, right next to photos of the children's hospital his foundation had built. It reminded him that the most valuable things in life couldn't be bought, only given freely. Their story became legend at the hospital. New employees heard about the custodian who saved a CEO's life and how that single donation changed everything. It inspired others to look beyond themselves, to give what they could, to believe in the power of quiet kindness. Sometimes, the quietest acts echo the loudest. If this story moved you, smash subscribe and turn on notification. Who knows? The next life changed could be yours.